Asheville View. I'm your host, Aisha Adams, and today we're going to be talking about how we got to Asheville. So I came to Asheville. I was actually recruited by Carol Ray through Asheville City Schools to come in and to teach struggling readers. I did not know that Asheville even existed on the map.
Oh, wow.
And when I saw the campus, I was sold. I was like, yes, this is the kind of place where you can make your home. I felt so good to be on such a beautiful campus. That's where I met Miriam. And
Carol Ray was my principal for what, 2 years, I think?
she's amazing, right?
Really is.
I still try to have lunch with her when I can. So I came in as a part of this diversity initiative. They didn't have enough African Americans teachers for students, and they
They
wanted.
sure damn still don't.
They don't. But yeah, that's how I got here, and they paid me a signing bonus to come. They recruited me.
Wow.
They were really it was an amazing experience. It was the first time that I felt value for my degree, and it was amazing. And then when I got here, it was different.
I think that like my first it was really interesting. We had moved here from Tampa, which cultureshock.com is a thing. And I went to a middle school and had a really horrible experience. All the kids just kept calling me gay. And at the time, I didn't really know what that meant.
Right.
But I knew it was mean. And
How old were you?
huh?
How old were you?
A jit?
I guess middle school is like what?
Yeah, like
10?
how old is
11?
middle school?
11?
No, that would be 11. You're right. You're perfectly right. And I had this one PE teacher. I think it was Mr. Lester, and he called them out on it and like protected me for
Mr.
it.
Lester.
He was African American. He knew what it felt like to be
Teased.
put against and
Right.
teased and put down for something that you can't help, and it was really helpful for me.
And now you're like Mr. Asheville, right?
Hello.
I moved here from Morocco, not here directly. I used to go to Florida and visit. I didn't really plan on moving here and staying here. My main goal was probably go to school in Europe because it was just closer to Morocco, and I've traveled there before, so it felt more closer to home and felt more like home. And then I used to come to Florida and visit during the summers and work on my English and meet people, and I really liked it there. And my sister lived there, so it was just a nice place to always go.
Your sister's
And
a
then-
fave too.
She is a
and
fave.
she's in Miami.
She is in Naples, Florida.
Naples.
But when we lived together, it was in Orlando, Florida, and that's how I met Eddie. I met Eddie in Florida through his mom. His mom is friends with my sisters, so that's how we met each other. And I came to visit one time, and he didn't even live in Asheville back then. He lived in Haywood County, in Maggie Valley, and all that area. And I thought it was beautiful. I've never seen mountains that close, and just beautiful nature. So I moved and lived there for a little bit, and started teaching at Asheville High. And so commuted for about 5 years, just 45 minutes in and out. It was exhausting. And then finally, but we would always come to Asheville for shows and food and just culture. And I thought, this is where I need to be. I love living in the mountains, but here you can have both. And I love that it has way more culture than where I used to live ever had. So it just felt like home.
My thing is, I'm so sorry.
you go
I didn't mean to
ahead.
interrupt. I love Asheville, but I didn't like it, 10 years ago.
Of course, especially with the kids in high
Especially
school.
being
It's
underage.
limiting.
One
yeah.
of my
My
most
thing
watched
is,
videos is why I hate living in North Carolina. Like it took Asheville a while to grow on me.
But coming back
But it's
to
different,
Asheville,
yeah.
it's so different. And I absolutely love it. They
Yeah.
have a nightlife, they have a this and that. And there's this poster going around about this group of people who said they're going to demolish new hotels, they're going to do this, they're going to terrorize us, blah, blah, blah. My thing is don't ask why things are getting more expensive. Ask why when business is booming, your employers are not paying you more. Don't take it out on citizens that you think
I
are
don't think.
people
Do you
who are
think that
visiting.
was directed to citizens? I think it was just more like a.
No,
we're gonna
I'm
stand
talking
up to
about
these
because
new-
I've gotten confused as a person who was visiting.
Right.
So I'm saying don't confuse citizens.
Or
do
tourists.
Tourists,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not their
With
fault. They're spending
tourists.
money.
That's
Tourists
true.
are coming here. They're spending money at the job you work at. They're bringing more business, and I know everyone hates hotels, but like, how many more jobs is that here in Asheville? And everyone's complaining about not being able to find work. The question is, ask your employer to pay you more when business is booming.
Which is not always possible. We always gotta
You're right. You've got to
look
think
at
about
both.
small businesses.
Yeah, small businesses, and then the people who can't. You just go to an employer and ask for a raise, and it's not going to be possible.
You're right.
So, good luck finding another job. I mean, we got to look at both sides here. I see what
We
you're
got
saying.
to look at both sides. My thing is like the smaller side, or not this. I don't like to call it the smaller side. The side that's like local, like respect local businesses is over here, and then you got your big side here. And my thing is like, meet.
Right.
Yeah, so I am all for economic development. I like new shiny buildings. I like hotels. I like to stay at 4-star hotels myself, 5-star hotels. So I like hotels. I think my issue is more that people come to the city and what are they doing here? They're drinking. Like they aren't adding to the flavor and the culture of what we have.
Right.
We have very few open mic nights for like poets, and we have very like our artists are hanging up in restaurants, but what are we doing to really push other things so that we develop and people want to come see us because we live here? And I feel like that's more so the issue, because I love visitors and I love for people to spend their money. So
I agree with what you're saying. My thing is all these businesses are looking for this. You don't get open mic nights at a tri-sobriety bar.
But you know what? I disagree, because in New York they have tons of open mic
Yeah,
nights.
they do.
They have like if you live in New York and you're an
But
artist.
this is Asheville.
But we're
it's
we're
growing.
competitive.
Yes.
We're competitive. So when you look, Asheville
growing.
keeps being called the #1 place to visit, keeps being called the #1 place to travel. Tell me, where do you go to find that African American singer who sings your soul to rest?
You used to go to Tress's,
Yeah,
but
but
they had to shut down.
But they had to shut down. That's because I feel like we haven't poured into the people that bring business in. So when
Exactly.
artists learn how to market, when we start giving more residencies, when we start pushing our artists to the forefront, when we start connecting
When
them
we
with the
start
basics
hiring the artists
to be
on the
artists.
side of the street who sing their soul out or perform their soul out, and we give them a job for that at a really decent place, maybe we'll bring some business into places that didn't have business before.
Like
Because
the
those people
local-
can pour into those businesses instead of having to be on the corner in the morning trying to sell their wares just to survive.
Just to friggin' get a Big Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's disgusting. It's so sad that like we treat our artists, and they're even, and this is something that's not talked about enough. And because I do it too, I'm bad. I have these things called headphones, and so many people walk around downtown with headphones in, so we're not even appreciating
Yeah.
the music, the excitingness, the originality of people
One
who
of the
are playing
things-
with spoons.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Well, probably
One
they
of the-
can't stay here because they can't afford anything. They can't, like you said, they're not really getting paid. They're just getting
Ask
tips, and
your
it's
And you know what?
employers why they're not playing more when business is booming.
Right. One of the things that I miss about Washington, D.C. is community tables. So you could go into a restaurant and it was designed where community comes to a table. You sit there, you know you don't know anyone, but you're there to meet more people in the community. We don't have those just in different places. And so,
So
as a-
you just gonna put your $1 million idea out for the public? to
well,
see?
it's not $1 million idea, it's a community building idea. The
So-
$1 million ideas are going to come at the table when the community gets together,
Right.
when I can connect with you and you can connect with me,
So
and we
who
come up with
sits at
something
these
like that.
community tables? Would you?
Whoever. So
Okay.
you, like, say for example, you leave Eddie and Lilo at home and you
Okay.
decide I'm gonna go for a waffle, and you go to Early Girl. Then Early Girl then has a table where you were there, but you came to do some work at Early Girl and you were by yourself, so you're at the table and she
Oh, I
came and
see.
she's at the table. And what it does is it creates a community conversation so that we can start to heal as a community and grow. And so I think
That's
what
a great
we're
idea.
missing in our situation right now is that I don't think they have people in place to build community. They're just building economic development. And economic development without community is a fail.
Well, we've all heard about mental health, right? But we don't talk. We'll clap.
Yeah, we've all heard about mental health.
We all know about mental health, but we've never talked about community health.
Right.
And community health is so important because a lot of the time mental health is caused by a lack of community health. And community health is literally being your authentic self, lending a hand out, being a good person. And in the media today, we see so much hate, we see so much dividing, we see so much. There's IDTV, which is literally just murders all day.
Yeah.
It's addictive, but it makes you not trust people.
Yeah.
It does. It kind of,
And I'm not saying there's no one in our community that's like that, but when most people aren't, it makes you feel like everyone sucks.
Yeah.
People don't suck. Our actions do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So
real.
remember that.
I think for me, what I want to see is concerted effort to grow communities and for people to feel at home and for people to feel like they can make it. So I know that it's hard. I know it's hard for a lot of people. I get it. You know, I got lucky. I came here. I was already educated. I met a fabulous husband. Got 3.5 acres of land out of the deal. And a home and a family and community. And so like getting to hang with you all, getting to hang with our audience and growing our audience is what made me want to stay here. And so the people of Asheville are what makes Asheville. It's not the hotels, it's not the clubs, it's not the music, it's the people. It's the fact that I know I can call you and you're there for me, and the fact that I can call you and I can be on your show and I can do things with you, and like these are the things that make our community community. And I feel like on a higher level, we need more implementation of building community because that's where the solutions are. That's when you don't have anyone hungry, you don't have anyone homeless, you give a blanket because you feel responsible for the community that you live in.
Right. Absolutely. Like recently.
We are all responsible for the community, not you. We are all responsible for this community. That includes South Asheville, West Asheville, downtown, East Asheville, North Asheville. We are all responsible.
Pisco View.
The public housing complexes where there are horrendous shootings.
I remember I think you were working at Asheville City Schools at that point when they don't do that anymore, unfortunately. But the teacher training at the very beginning of the school year, they used to put us on a bus.
Yep.
That was so cool.
And drive us around to all of the places. We saw everything and we had a landscape of the land. So we want to encourage our leaders who are watching this, because we know you're watching, our future senators, our mayor, our governors, our city council meeting, our city council members. We want to encourage you. This is a call to action to say, build community with us.
Know your people and build each other up.
This is a call to action. Bring up Black history of Asheville. Look it up. Figure it out, make it loud.
Learn about it.
So, we will be right back with the Asheville View.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sharon Norling, and this is Ask Your Doctor. We're going to talk about exercise. Now, I've got good news for you, because there was just a recent article in the Mainstream Medical Journal that says if you exercise 30 minutes a day, it's the same result as exercising 60 minutes a day. So now you've just gained yourself 4 hours. And exercise, as we know, is really important. I often get asked, should I eat before I exercise or before I work out? And those questions are all over the board with the answers. So first of all, if you have protein before you work out, 30 minutes before your workout, you'll actually gain more muscle mass. If you eat carbohydrates before your workout, you'll actually perform better and have more energy during that workout. And what about if you're fasting and you haven't eaten since the night before? If you're fasting, you actually burn more fat and can lose weight. So the answer to that question is varied, pretty much depending on what your goals are. And we know that one of the reasons we exercise, of course, is for our health. And everybody knows it's better for your health and for our body composition. When we look at the research for body composition between blacks and whites, the black people actually have stronger bone mineral density. So their bones are stronger and they happen to have more protein in their body and more muscle mass. The other thing that's really important is the inactivity that people have during their leisure time. So an article just came out that says, if you're inactive during your leisure time, does it vary between races? And you know it does, according to this study. During leisure time, about 16% of Caucasians are inactive. About 35% of blacks are inactive, and about 40% of Mexican Americans are inactive during their leisure time. So that's kind of interesting statistics, but I recommend to all my patients that they should exercise. And I had a lady come in just last week, and she said, Dr. Norling, I jumped, I twisted, I squatted, I sweated for an hour, and I finally got my exercise tights on. Well, we all want to be healthier, but we also want to look good. And there's always this sort of pull and push. And you think, oh, you know what? I'd really like to look good naked in front of a mirror. And then the other part of me says, well, you're so busy and you've got so much going on. You should really treat yourself. And those are some of the dialogues that go on with our patients, as well as everyone here. But the point is, take time for exercise, because it's a gift of health for you, and you deserve the best health. And this is Dr. Sharon Norling from Ask Your Doctor.
With our friend Luis, who is going to speak to us about how we find Latinx culture here in Asheville. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're so glad to have you here.
I am honored to be here. And before we start, really, the one thing that I would love for you to know is that I'm so grateful that you've been able to make a crack. I feel like prior to what you're doing and what I'm doing, there was no media produced by people of color. So I feel like prior to this, really everything that we were seeing was aimed at a certain demographic. And now that we're doing this, it feels very empowering. It feels like it's growing. And now people are able to see us. There's just no way to be ignored.
Yes.
So thank you.
That's very powerful stuff, Luis.
Very.
So tell us more about how we can access the culture, your culture here. How can we learn more?
Sure. Well, I think it's really simple, really. I feel like one of the first things that I would like to say is that the contribution of immigrants needs to be recognized.
Yes.
We work downtown every day. We build the buildings that host the hotels.
Yes.
We make your food. We mow your lawns. We go to school with your children. And a lot of things happen to our community here. But I feel like besides the problems, I think that it's very, very important to highlight the contribution that we make, not only to the country, but at the local level.
Absolutely.
So I feel like there's very little things that can be done. You don't have to speak Spanish to make somebody feel welcome. But the intent has to be so authentic in order for that to be effective. So again, I feel like what you're doing, inviting me, it's one thing to move forward and try to make that happen.
Definitely.
I looked at your website actually last night, and it was so cool because everything was in both languages, and you can switch languages and go. You can places to go, places to eat. What nights offer Latin nights? What businesses are bilingual, which is huge. There's not a lot of bilingualism or any foreign language exposure in this country. And general, let alone in a smaller town. And I think that's a great thing already, because people will have access to where can I go to get certain services and find people who speak that language to connect to or to help me out. I guess my question for you is, I'm a foreign language teacher. I teach French at the high school, and I really think that we do a very poor job raising our kids to become bilingual, not just taking Spanish courses in the elementary school level and teaching them songs and colors and things that they're going to forget, but it really needs to be more structured than that. But I guess what I'm coming to with this is, what else can we do to make this town more bilingual, especially the schools? I know that the school system is not going to change the way they're doing things. What else can we do?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I don't believe that we need to make the town more bilingual.
Okay.
I feel like to try to learn a language at different age phases of people's lives is more difficult than others.
Okay.
But what I believe strongly is embracing multiculturalism.
Absolutely.
My last name is Italian. I'm not Italian, I'm Mexican. I also have black blood in me, and I also have Lebanese blood in me. But I mean, to me, that's something that makes me rich.
Right.
And I don't want you to go and inform yourself on how to speak Spanish with me, but I just feel like if you feel proud of who you are and respect other people for their background, this country was made by immigrants. Everybody is multicultural.
Yes.
But they try to actually look for differences. That's why, to me, the fact that I speak Spanish is just to amplify a message of welcoming to all. So no, it is not just aimed at the Latinx community. I'm part of them, and therefore I also try to speak Spanish as to include them. But no. My goal is to make this town multicultural. I would like to see Asheville to become the most inclusive city in America. I believe that we want to be progressive. I believe we are progressive. But I also believe that we need to be pushed. And again, what we're doing right now, I feel like it's sending that message strongly. So please, if you're watching, share this.
Yes.
Make everybody see it.
Yeah.
Make a comment. Let us know what we're doing, what we need to be doing. Get involved. So I feel like we can do it.
Well, I think, I think that, with that all lives matter, it's like, what do you mean by all lives matter when we have immigrant children separated from their parents in cages?
Yes.
It's absolutely vile. It's disgusting.
It is.
And I think that the really important part here is to realize that if they got on chickens being in cages from Tyson or all the fucking chicken whatevers, and they get on, other animals.
If you lock
being
your
in
dog
cages.
in the car for too
Yeah,
long.
dogs for too long. That's exactly what I was thinking of. The dogs for too long in the car. Everyone has an outcry, and it's like, what about brown people?
Yeah.
What
I
about
really think
brown
it's
and
not
red
about that.
people?
It's more about whoever's here, we're going to do whatever we can. Well, we try, or the government tries, but whoever is not there is kind of like, if they're not here, and if they're not here the right way, whatever the right way is supposed to be, which we're not even letting them do it the right way, people just don't care.
Are they
and
just
it's
not
really
people?
hurtful. It's really hurtful because
Are they just not people? Because that's not a thing. They're still people. Why do we have an outcry about chickens in a chicken factory versus people? And I'm not saying either deserves bad treatment. I'm just saying, why are we allowing parents and children to be separated and locked in cages?
But black and brown children have been separated from their parents.
Yes.
This is
You're
nothing
very
new.
right.
And
Slavery.
I feel like,
oh my gosh.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're all acting like, oh, this is a new thing, but it's not
Oh,
a new
no.
thing. This is
No,
the
it's not.
continuation of oppression of people, and
It's just a different group of
it's just
people.
a different group of people, and the only reason why the media is highlighting it now is because of how they feel about the president. It has nothing to do with the children. I feel like if it has something to do with the children, we would be taking our baseball bats, we would be going to those cages, we would be knocking those cages down. But it's just a ploy to get sympathy and make people feel a certain way, or to make them angry, or to make them feel sympathy based on their political beliefs. It's not about the children. So we have to change the focus back to these families and understand that children are being separated every day, not just by ICE, but by all these law enforcement agencies, social services, the police department, and that we have a breakdown in how we see family structure and the value of a family structure.
I wouldn't be anywhere if I didn't have my water family. They say blood is thicker than water, but I would not be anywhere without my water family. I'm adopted, and I love them, and I could not even imagine being pulled away from a blood member I've known for as long as a lot of these children have known their family members, just because they're here.
Yeah.
There is something that you said that I think is extremely important, and it's the humanizing of immigrants and Latinos, I believe.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the statistics as far as like police brutality and things like that impact those communities the most. And I feel like the narrative for many years has justified that kind of behavior to these sectors of the population. So I feel like, again, some of the things that I try to do with the media that I produce is to highlight not only the contribution, but also highlight those that challenge that profiling that is being so predominant for so many years.
Well, police violence is right now in the United States so profiled to black people, and we don't realize it happens.
Can I correct you?
Yes.
It's to black men. Black women are getting killed every day, and it's almost like it never even makes the news. So it's a very targeted approach. Just like our Latinx community are dealing with the same types of issues. So I just want to say, like, media is curated, and that's why it's so important that we did this show, so that we have a raw perspective. So I can say, wait a minute, no, remember Sandra Bland,
and please
remember Kendra
educate
Chapman,
me.
remember, right? And so we have to remember that this is not, and what they do is they say, oh, it's black men. So then black women feel like, oh, I'm slighted, or the Latinx man may feel like, oh, I'm slighting, or the Latinx female may say, oh, I'm slighted, and that is a ploy to keep us separated. So we have to watch those things.
Yes.
Police brutality runs through all communities, and honestly, shame on me for not even recognizing that black females get brutalized too by police.
Yeah, I mean, it's a growing thing. I feel like it's at this point even more prevalent, because what happens is when this happens, there isn't a call to action. There isn't a push. A woman can be beat up by the police, and we see it on Facebook, and we mention it no more.
But again, I feel like in 2019, this is happening. We're sitting here, and we have been able to, nobody gave us the opportunity. We created. You went ahead and you wrote the blog that actually got people's attention, and then you were able to connect with everybody else that is sitting here with you now. So I feel like for better, of course, this is unstoppable.
Right.
Yes.
We are not
So
invisible
let me
anymore.
ask you
No,
this.
I love
Who
it.
are the local business owners that really cater to this multiculturalism that you talk about? Where can we go and support this and become a part of it?
Well, I will say the first person that decided to support what I was doing, and I'll never forget because it was just an idea at that stage. I had nothing even to show. His name is Ross. He owns Easy's coffee shop. Him and his wife saw me working on this, and they knew me for a long time. And they asked me, you know, how you doing, whatever, and what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm working on this. So right away, his wife, which is interesting, you know, because what I have seen that my audience is mostly female and white.
Yeah.
So what I have seen though is that that part of the population was more receptive to the message you're trying to include and trying to be proactive in making this town what I believe I'm trying to do, what you're trying to do. So again, Easy's, Mamacitas, Taco Temple, I don't know, out of the blue.
Where's
Peruvian.
that restaurant that we went to when I was on your...
Taqueria Muñoz.
Oh.
Taqueria Muñoz is
Best
an
tacos.
Where
and this
is
is funny.
that, and where was my invite? 2 questions I have.
Where is it? Tell
Was
us
it an
about
Taqueria?
authentic place?
It is a very authentic place, but I feel like beyond being authentic, it is probably the only place that mainly was conceived by thinking of Mexican immigrants.
Right.
But now it's such a hip place that you can go there and you can walk into like find Graham, which I believe is the chef from Sovereign Remedies. You can see, I believe, Jacob, who owns Table, and other people that I know that thrive downtown that go there. So again, we do like that culture. We do go and eat their food. Why not make them welcome to your business?
Absolutely.
I feel like really you don't have to speak Spanish. You can only say one thing in your website or even in your establishment that will make those people know that you appreciate their business and that you see them as people, not as a labor force.
Right.
Again, I believe that when it comes down to people of color, and again, in my particular case as an immigrant, I believe that when a lot of people, when they hear me having an accent, they put me in a box. So I cannot be a doctor, I cannot be a lawyer, I cannot be certain things, but I can be a construction worker or somebody that does landscape or X. I think that mentality has to change.
Right.
And again, the reason that I challenge that profiling is by creating the blogs highlighting the people that I know that challenge that. So.
Well, we are all so happy you're here.
We really are.
Thank you. No, thank
we
you.
really
I'm
are.
very happy to be with you because now I know that you're from Morocco.
Exactly.
She's African American. I'm
Yes.
from Mexico. I don't really know where you're from.
I'm white.
But you're a person of color. And that is the beautiful thing. It's
He's not white. Wait.
No, I hear you. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like now you see us.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
we're here. And you
Yes.
will see more of us. We're not going anywhere.
And so here's a call to action. If you have a small business and you're in the local area, we are looking for that Spanish page. We're looking for that multicultural page. We're looking to see how are you going to tie in, because I know for me personally, when I got here, I asked my husband, like, babe, like they don't want my money because like I haven't seen a black waitress, and I know black waitresses have to go to school.
Right.
I want to help them pay their tuition too. I want to help, you know, the Filipino student pay her tuition. I want to help the Latinx student pay her tuition. I want waiters that look like me sometime. Where are they? So those are the things that we're looking for. How are you bringing into the larger community? What are you doing? Where's your equity work? You know, I'm a big proponent of equity as the founder over equity over everything. And I believe that when we start taking some of your tips, Luis, that's when we're going to have an inclusive community that will not require us to use the word inclusive, because it'll be ours.
We really don't have people of color waiting downtown unless it's an ethnic restaurant. Or if you go to Tunnel Road,
Right.
that's where you find so many people of color tending, and I think it's because we really have a hiring deficit.
Yes.
And it's so easy to get the hipster girl with like the cut across bangs. No offense.
I was going to like say, and the tattoos and the colored hair.
And the tattoos and the color, exactly, like you know the green tips. Like, yes, like it's
green
hard to
tips.
get a bartending or a service job downtown unless you match like
Asheville.
Asheville. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love Asheville's weirdness and hipsterness, but weirdness and hipsterness comes in all colors.
And sizes.
And sizes.
And sizes. Do we
And
still have to say
ethnicity.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
we have to
shit.
say, and sizes and nationalities
Yes.
and
Ethnicities,
and
languages.
sexuality, preferences. We have to say it all because we live in a society now where they want to keep us separated, and in order for us to get rid of the separation, we have to be respectful of everybody. We have to call it out and we have to connect it.
Yes.
We are human. We all come in different shapes, colors, and loveliness.
Yes.
You know, and if you allow me to, I want to see beyond the waitress that is black or
Yeah.
Latinx.
Yes.
I want to be business owners.
The county
This-
managers, the city managers, the
Yes.
Sure.
city hall, the entrepreneurs,
Community
Definitely.
reps.
everything. Yes, that's
want,
equity.
I want the African American business district to thrive. There's a building right here, which is, I believe, this building right here. That was built by an African American entrepreneur in 1925. His name was James Vester Miller. I want that. I don't want the waiter.
Yeah.
He could be the chef. He could own a restaurant.
Right.
That's
I
what
want
I
that
want.
too.
start. I
This is
feel
start.
like this is
So
a
for
great
me,
start
like,
already.
One
Sure.
of the things we have to do is look at in our education system and how African Americans and people of color aren't being educated properly enough to become entrepreneurs, to become these business owners,
Sure.
and to do these things. So it's like it's a fact that we have to start really deep with. But we've been here in this building, and this building has been African American owned for 125 years. And so we have to make sure that we keep the story, the narrative, the contributions, the
Definitely.
positivity, the entrepreneurs in the forefront. But we also have to acknowledge that for me, what makes my day is when my waiter brings me a salad and a salmon. Like, I love you.
We
And
need
you're
to
enough. You're
advocate
good.
for education. We need
Yes.
Black history.
Yes.
If we're gonna get tested on like what George Washington did on the friggin' January the 1st of 1990, or I'm sorry, no.
1932.
Whatever, 1730, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't commit to a year.
Like, I'm not committing to a year. Anyways, we gotta get like tested on like what a white guy did like 300 years ago. Then we deserve to learn about what Black history looks like and what gay history looks like.
And Latinx
Latinx
history
history.
as well.
Yes.
And I feel like just making our curriculum more current, bringing it in so that it makes sense, so that we learn to respect each other, we
So
learn to
that it
value each
matters.
other. Yeah, and so that's really what it is. A lot of the stuff that we're learning is outdated and we don't know how to
Yeah.
use it, and we need to turn it back to what is important today, which is being good citizens, which is being good people and good neighbors.
The Bible gets edited 1 year. every year.
Does it
And
really?
they sell a new edition
They do.
each year.
They do.
I did not
Why
know that.
can't our history content
how
in
do
high school be
what
the
are you
same way?
editing?
Well, you got to remember King
Umbrellas
James. That's a
are a
long
sin.
story. What? That's
I was gonna say that's probably another
we could
show.
get on King James another time, but
I'm just saying, if a book that so many people follow gets edited and sold
Yeah.
differently each year, why the hell are school books and history books and things like that not sold differently every year?
listen.
Yep.
Hey, our producers are saying we have to go. We might have to bring you back.
I know,
Louise.
we're gonna have to come
You're
back.
talking good stuff.
Yes, I know.
Until next
You
time.
are fantastic.
You've been watching the Asheville Review.
Asheville.